Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where OP is thrilled that his sister's life is being ruined by bullies. Am I the butthole for doing nothing to stop my stepsister being bullied and refusing to apologize for it? My 14-year-old stepsister is being bullied at school. I'm a 16-year-old guy, and I knew about it but did nothing. The reason? My stepsister bullied my actual sister, who's 13, for years. And she still bullies her when I'm not around. That's actually how our dad met her mom. There was a pretty big incident at school, and my dad and her mom were called in to speak to the principal and talk about a game plan. They consented to this buddy program for them so that my stepsister would need to be there for my sister for a few hours each week at school. They're in different grades. Afterwards, my dad went out for coffee with her mom, and they ended up dating and married a year later. My sister started getting bullied in first grade, and the bullying got worse when our mom lost all custody of us. My mom ended up becoming an addict and wasn't safe to be around us. My stepsister found out through gossip, and she tormented my sister about how much our mom didn't love us. That really broke my sister, and it led to an incident where my stepsister grabbed my sister by the hair and pushed her down in front of a bunch of other kids in the grade above my sister. My sister was really hurt when my dad started dating the girl's mom, and I was pissed. Dad and I don't have a good relationship because of it, and I told him and his wife that they're shitty people to do that to my sister. Our relationship has lots of conflict. I refuse to be nice to my stepsister either. She might be young, but she's tortured my sister for 7 years now, and it hasn't gotten better. My sister not being in high school yet means that school is her safe space now for a year. Before that, she didn't have a safe space at home or at school. I told my dad that this is his fault, and he told me things will get better now that we're a family. Well, when my stepsister started high school, she had trouble adapting, and then 2 girls in my grade started making fun of her. I heard about it, but never saw it. By October, everyone was talking about how the girls in my grade were slut-shaming my stepsister and calling her all kinds of names. They also spread rumors about her and other stuff. I never said or did anything. A part of me was glad that my stepsister was being subjected to a little of what she put my sister through. I made sure to keep my sister away from her as much as possible because I know my stepsister being bullied could have made her an even worse bully. Things got really bad at the start of the month, and there was a fight between my stepsister and like 5 other girls. They all started taunting her and ganging up on her. After the incident, her mom was called, and my dad and her mom found out more. They were in and out of school for a couple of weeks, and last week they were told that it was the talk of the school. This made my dad confront me about not doing anything. I told him I would never help her. I help my sister, not her bully. I told him I don't care what happens to my stepsister. I'm doing what he should have done and taking my sister's side, not play family with that brat. Dad lectured me about it and I ignored him, and because I wasn't apologizing for it, the 2 of them lectured me more about not doing better and not apologizing. Am I the butthole? Well, OP, if you wanted to take a page out of your dear old dad's book, you would start dating one of those girls' bullies. How could they even be mad at you for it? It's exactly what he did. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your father and stepsister, however, are straight scum. I'm giving them both 4 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for not letting my stepson move back in after he pranked me? I'm a 48-year-old guy, and I've been married to my wife Karen, who's 45, for 5 years. She has a son, Dylan, who's 22 from a previous relationship. Dylan and I have always had a decent relationship. Nothing super close, but I treated him like my own and helped support him through college. Dylan recently graduated and moved back in with us temporarily while he looked for a job. Things were fine for a while, but he started hanging out with some friends who he said were into pranks. A couple of weeks ago, while Karen was out of town visiting her sister, Dylan decided that it would be funny to prank me by wrapping all of my work supplies, computers, files, even my chair, in duct tape. I work from home, and this was the morning of a big presentation I'd spent weeks preparing. I lost it. The tape was impossible to remove without ruining some of my files, and I had to scramble to piece together my presentation. When I confronted Dylan, he laughed and said, "It's just a joke, chill out." I told him this wasn't funny and that his lack of respect for my work was unacceptable. He brushed me off and acted like I was overreacting. When Karen got back, I told her what happened and said that I couldn't live with someone who didn't respect me or my home. I told Dylan he needed to move out. He packed up and went to stay with a friend, but now Karen is furious with me. She says I'm being too harsh and that Dylan is just a kid who made a dumb mistake. Dylan has since apologized, but I told him he needs to learn that actions have consequences. Karen thinks I'm being petty and putting my pride above family, but I feel like this is about respect. Am I the butthole for not letting Dylan move back in? OP, I don't know if you should let your wife move back in either. Saying he's just a kid? Yo, he's 22! I could sort of see forgiving this if he were 12. And your wife defending this behavior is another red flag. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving Dylan and his mom 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for pulling over and kicking my mom out of the car after she slapped me while I was driving? So I'm a 21-year-old guy, and I was driving my 39-year-old mom and my little brother, who's 5, to run some errands. My mom has this habit of not giving clear directions when I'm driving her. She doesn't say, turn left or go straight. Instead, she'll point or say, that way. And it always stresses me out because I'm trying to focus on the road. Today, she was doing the same thing, and I ended up taking a wrong turn. She got mad and started yelling at me, saying I wasn't paying attention. I told her, I can't read your mind, just tell me where to go. She didn't like that and kept going. Then, out of nowhere, she slapped me on the back of the head while I was driving. I got really heated after that because I almost swerved, and it felt completely out of line. I pulled over immediately and told her to get out of the car. I'll admit I was angry and probably raised my voice, but I was mostly focused on the fact that she slapped me while I was driving and put all of us in danger. She started yelling even more and said that I had no right to kick her out. Then she took my little brother out of the back seat with her, which made me feel even worse because I didn't want him to be caught up in all this. After about 5 minutes of her walking, I calmed down and drove back to pick them up. The rest of the ride was dead silent, and now I feel like the bad guy. She hasn't said much since we got home, but I can tell that she's upset. She thinks I overreacted, and I'm starting to question if I did, but at the same time, I feel like slapping me while I was driving crossed a major line. Man, I knew there would be stories down in the comments. We have this one from A Pleasant Nobody. An ex of mine was driving a few years back, and his grandmother suddenly grabbed him and yelled at him to look at some goats on the side of the road. He swerved into a ditch, his car was a wreck, and he suffered minor injuries, but his grandmother broke a hip. She had to be airlifted and spent months in the hospital as a result. What your mom did was dangerous, not the butthole. I agree, OP. Your mom can drive herself from now on. And also, equally importantly, that's still not a good reason for her to slap you. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your mom 3 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for teaching my son a lesson and throwing him out after he said that household chores are a woman's job? I'm a 36-year-old guy, and I have a 16-year-old son with my ex, who's 34. We had our son way too early in life. Me and her lived on the same street growing up, and we knew each other from school. We fooled around sometimes, and the rest is history. I'm ashamed to say this, but both of our parents have been exceptionally controlling in both of our lives up until the divorce, and both me and my ex were too much of a pushover to do anything about it. When they learned she was pregnant, they forced us to get married. They told me they want her to be a stay-at-home mom and me to go work. My ex and I hated each other for our stolen lives. We were never cruel to one another and have never displayed any hatred in our house for our son's sake. But we slept in different bedrooms and avoided each other as much as we could. We split up after I caught her cheating, which finally made us both able to break off the chains of control that both of our parents had over us, and we got divorced 2 years ago. Now, everything is very good between us, and I even consider her a friend now that she's no longer my wife. And credit where credit is due, she was a remarkable homemaker and an amazing mother. When we divorced, I had to learn all this on my own. It was the first time I realized how much work goes into maintaining a house. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I had to look up YouTube tutorials on how to clean and cook. A few weeks ago, I was ironing mine and my son's clothes, and I told him that I want to teach him how to do this, as I don't want him falling into the same mistake that I did and never learning this on my own. He said that he doesn't want to, and I just said he'll have to learn to do this at some point. He then said, "Only failed men do stuff like this, and I won't be one of them." I stopped and looked up, a bit bewildered, and asked him to clarify. He said that it's his belief that this is a woman's job to do and that only simps do simple household chores. I tried to keep my composure as much as I could, but I asked if he saw me as a simp and he just shrugged. I told him that now he will have to choose his next words very carefully, but I said that he will learn household work whether he likes it or not. He again reiterated what he had said, and I said, well, if you think this is a woman's job, it's time for you to live with a woman and to pack his bag and to go to his mom's house, as I will not have any of that Andrew Tate BS in my house. My son lives with me during the week as his school is only 5 minutes away, and his mom lives nearly 2 hours away. He refused to make his bag, so I made it for him. Then he started seeing the gravity of my seriousness and tried to backtrack on his words, but I wasn't having any of it. He must have called his mom while I was packing because she called me as well. She asked me what's going on, and I told her what happened. Surprisingly, she's on my side and asked me to drop him off at her place and she'll help teach him a lesson. It's been about 2 weeks now that he's lived with his mom, and she's been reinforcing the household chores on him. He's called me multiple times to apologize, asking to come back. His mom and I agree that he's going to keep this up for 2 weeks after the holidays and make him commute to school and do lesser household chores. And then let him come back to me to reinforce the consequences of his belief. My friends that I spent Christmas with yesterday said that I was rather hard and it was a dick move to uproot his life like this. And it was a butthole thing to do. So now I'm questioning myself. Am I the butthole here? Well, OP, the one lesson your son doesn't seem to understand is that step one of having a girl do all your household chores for you is you first have to land a girl, which he's not going to do with that attitude. So realistically, you're doing him a favor, OP. He'll have a lot easier time finding a girlfriend once he, treats women with baseline respect. Will I be the butthole if I press charges on a 12-year-old for accusing me? I'm a 25-year-old guy, and I met my 24-year-old wife around 4 years ago, and the relationship was perfect in all ways. We had many common interests, we rarely argued, our communication was great, and even our families got along great. My life was honestly great. I had a great job that I loved, and we were planning on starting a family soon. Until my wife's cousin, Casey, who's 12, accused me of something horrible. Casey always seemed to stick to me whenever I was around, and I tried to keep my distance as I know how that would look. And her dad didn't seem to trust me much. Her accusation quickly spread, and it flipped my world upside down. I was fired from my job, my extended family cut me off, and even my wife was skeptical about me. The only people who seemed to believe me were my immediate family, and even then, my brother didn't want me around his kids. A week after Casey's accusation, I was arrested and was kept in holding for over 2 weeks, during which I was treated like garbage, and Casey's father came to my house looking for me and basically broke everything inside. After I was released, I contacted a lawyer to fight the charges against me. A proper investigation was done, and 6 months after she accused me, I was deemed innocent, but the damage was already done. Everyone in our town shunned me. My friends cut me off, I lost my job and my reputation. I'm now in the process of pressing charges against Casey, her dad, and several other members of my wife's family that blasted me on social media for defamation, destruction of property, and more, and I'm even considering filing for divorce. My wife is telling me to reconsider, saying that Casey is just a kid and did a stupid mistake. And even my mom is telling me I shouldn't be vindictive and that I got my job back, so there's no damage done. But my dad has supported me fully in this, which is creating problems between him and my mom. Frankly, I don't care that she's a kid or what'll happen to their family if I press charges. She ruined my life, my reputation, my marriage, and possibly even my future. I'm barely holding it together, and I've broken down crying many times. And all the drama and my mom siding with her is destroying me even more. I know it's the right thing to press charges, but all these people, including my mom, telling me she's just a kid is making me doubt myself. Down in the comments, @accomplished says exactly what I was thinking. She's a kid, so any consequence will either be wiped out when she turns 18 or borne by her parents. So pressing charges won't ruin her life, but it will certainly impact her. I have no problem with you holding that family accountable. It is going to destroy your marriage, but I'm pretty sure your marriage is already over. Not the butthole. do what you have to do, and then leave town. Tell your mom that if she can't support you in this, to let you know now, as you don't want anyone who you can't count on in your life. Yeah, and I think the most useful advice in all that is to leave town. Because even if you're 100% innocent and your name is cleared, there's always going to be people who assume that you did it, so just move far away and start over, OP. Am I the butthole for refusing to co-sign my sister's mortgage after my parents went behind my back? I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I've been busting my butt for years to save for my own house. I work in software, so I make decent money, but it still takes forever to build up a good down payment. Meanwhile, my younger sister, who's 25, is in grad school with barely any credits. Our parents found a house near them and decided that my sister needs it. They made an offer without telling me, and now the deal only goes through if I co-sign. The problem? I had no clue they'd do this. My parents basically dropped a bomb. You have the best credit score. Co-sign so your sister can get the house. They also hinted I should chip in for the down payment because you've got the money. If I co-sign, I'll be on the hook if my sister can't pay. She's in school, has debt, and zero backup plan. The bank might also reject my future mortgage application since they'll see that I'm already tied to another plan. But my parents say that I'm selfish and forgetting family values. My sister's calling me a monster for leaving her stranded, and my mom threatened to cut off any future financial help, like wedding money, if I don't help right now. Some relatives think it's insane that my parents tried to rope me into this after they already made the offer. Others say I should just do it for family's sake. I feel guilty, but also mad they put me in this spot. Okay, well, if they want someone to co-sign the mortgage, why don't they do it? Why don't your parents co-sign the mortgage? All those relatives who talk about family values, why don't they do it? I don't see how this is your problem, OP. Also, OP posted an update where she basically said she decided not to co-sign the lease, and it looks like she's either going low contact or no contact with her family, which I think is a good decision here. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your toxic family 3 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.